So, but actually the fact is that one should not lose courage by seeing great devotees leave the path. You know, as it said, that the illusory energy is so strong that it may even those who are here. There are instances throughout the world in which even a purified person, being attracted by prostitutes, spends all the money he has inherited. So even a purified person may fall away. So this is just the nature of this world, that even if one makes advancement, even if one becomes situated on a high platform of Krishna consciousness, then even then one may fall down. So this is not to be taken as a surprise, because we're giving warning that it may happen like this. So, but to avoid it, to make an insurance policy for ourselves that it doesn't happen to ourselves, then we should be careful that we conduct our devotional service in a very safe, in a very progressive, gradual way, so that we'll be able to maintain it. Not to become a comet that's a streak in the sky, a big flash in the sky, and then after some while you don't see it anymore. Better than to become a steady, small star in the sky that just fixed there, is always there. So to take up gradually increase our devotional service and stick with it. Those are the real heroes. Those who just stick with it, through all the years, through all their whole life. They just stick to devotional service honestly and just endeavors with all they can and take shelter of the devotees. Those who stick through it to all life, those are the real heroes, actually. And those are the ones who will give encouragement to the young ones. Those who never leave it, or haven't taken up time, they never leave the path. So even though some devotees may not be prominent, but those who actually are able to maintain throughout the whole life, they're actually to be really glorified, because that's a very honest, a very you can say big sacrifice, just to stick to the promises one made to one spiritual master and stick to that throughout the whole life, and to that serve a nice example. And of course, even though we may have cases where devotees they fall, we should always also remember that such persons are never to be criticized. They're never to be looked down upon. Even spiritual masters who have left their position, because that was never the mood of Srila Prabhupada. As you know, how did Srila Prabhupada deal with his devotees at some point leaving his association like that? He was very careful that the other devotees, they should not behave in such a way that this devotee would be barred or would be hampered from coming back and taking up practices. He said there should not be any criticism of this person, so that he may find it difficult to come back. So Srila Prabhupada never condemned any of aspiring devotees for weaknesses or falling down due to weakness. As we know, Krishna, he says, "Ape chet suduracharo," that even though a devotee may perform an abominable activity, he should still be considered saintly, because his determination is fixed on the path. Now he will, it's a dharmatma. How was it? There's the last line. One quickly becomes dharmatma. Shipram bhavati dharmatma, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. But one quickly becomes dharmatma. One quickly comes back to dharma. We should keep in mind that this devotional service is not a one-life thing. It's not a one-life practice. It's for many lives, and those who may fall away in the next life, they will come back. So therefore, Kshipram Bhavati Dharmatma, in consideration of how many lives are spent in the material world. So one slip up, quickly one returns back. If not in this life, then in the next life. So we shouldn't keep any space in our mind for condemning those who may have fallen down like that. That will not be helpful. But we should be careful we should learn from the example, as we learn from the example of Ajamil, and this is the whole point of the story of Ajamil. It serves as an example, so we may not fall in this same trap. We may not fall victim in this way. So it serves as a lesson, not as something for condemnation. Ajamil is not an object for us as aspiring devotees. It's not an object of condemnation. It's not at all like that. No, it just serves as a practical lesson of what may happen if we're not careful, if we're neglectful, what may be the result. And then how do we avoid falling into that same trap? That is to be very careful how we conduct our devotional service, to be very honest and very careful in our practice of devotional service, and then we may hope that gradually we'll find a foothold, that we'll be able to find a platform. We're able to find that platform we're actually able to maintain, and then from that point make very safe and gradual progress. And that is what we want. We want to see devotees spend their whole lives practicing devotional service in the association of devotees, never leaving the association of devotees, and like that serving as good examples of how one should spend one's life in Krishna consciousness, attaining the gift of Krishna consciousness, and then maintaining that gift, taking care of that gift, carrying it the whole life, and then at the end of it offering it back to Krishna, offering it back to devotees. That is really what we want to see. So these are some thoughts which I could present from today's verse. Maybe that you like to add something with some comments or question. Yes,
You mentioned that like there are different steps. If you cannot be on that step, like Krishna mentions in the 12th chapter, if you're not on the highest step, always thinking of Krishna and follow the regularity principle. Just wondered, then there is the mention of, you said like, then you can work for Krishna by being situated in Varnashram. I just wonder what's the difference between working for Krishna and like the lower step, which is giving up the result of your activities.
Oh yes, well that's actually a good point, and Krishna he speaks actually in the 9th chapter, Javosi Jat Asnasi, that whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give away in charity, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So, Javosi, whatever you do, so that means to work for Krishna. It means actually you can do that work as a sacrifice to Krishna. I mean, when you do, and that's actually, the very example of Arjuna, he's on the battlefield, and Krishna is not asking him to take up the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga at this instance. You know, he's not telling him to chant 16 rounds and follow 4 regs just now. And now Krishna is telling Arjuna to engage in his occupational duty, which is fighting. And he says, you engage in your occupation and think of me. So that is Krishna as spiritual master. He's instructing Arjuna. This is the platform now where I would like you to perform. And actually, Arjuna, he was inclined not to accept that platform. He was inclined rather to become a mendicant and take up the higher platform, to take up the step above, you know, just to follow chanting, just to take up regulative practice principles of Bhakti Yoga. He wanted to do that, relieve the fighting, and go to the regulative principles. But Krishna, he said, well, that's not for you. And he explained that because of your nature, you'll not be able to repress that nature, and you'll fight. You in the forest, you'll protect the sages, like that. You know, Krishna may not say this directly, but it's inferred in the. This I have from some explanation of the Bhagavad Gita. We have at least some of Krishna Goswami. He speaks like that. You'll not be able to suppress that nature. So Krishna is asking Arjuna to engage in his occupational duty, to fight for Krishna, and at the same time think of Krishna. So that means to work for Krishna, that you do your occupational duty, but you think of Krishna at the same time, and Jachuhosi, that you offer, the activity itself. You offer it to Krishna, and that. So you may ask, well, I'm working in a bakery, so how do I offer that activity to Krishna? So we can also find some instruction of how you offer your work to Krishna, because Krishna, he gives an instruction how the work should be conducted. He says, free from lethargy, you fight. Exactly one verse there. He instructs Arjuna that he should fight, being free from lethargy. So we can understand by that if we perform our work with lethargy, that means we're lazy, we really don't like our work, and we actually don't want to perform it, we're just waiting for a lunch break, or waiting when we can get time off and go home and play our computer. So we can understand that we can't offer that to Krishna. Work conducted in that way, it's full of lethargy. So that's a Krishna, you should perform work free of lethargy. So that means at least to be able to offer work to Krishna as an offering, then we have to follow this. Our work has to be free from lethargy. That means we have to do it immaculately, we have to do it excellently well, to the best of our capacity, and then that Krishna will associate with. Because Krishna, he said this, I have for my authority, that Krishna, he runs away from a Dirgha Sutri. And Dirgha means prolonged, and Sutra means thread. So one who procrastinates, he drags the things out and he's spacing out and inattentive. Then Krishna, he said that he runs away from such a person. So if we conduct our work in such a way, procrastinating way, obstinate way, then Krishna, he will not associate with that. This is just not what Krishna associates with. So in order to associate with Krishna, we have to conduct our activities in such a way that it's representative of Krishna, that is something that Krishna will accept and associate with. And then you can offer that as an offering to Krishna, and Krishna will accept, well, he's my devotee, he's my representative, so him I may consider giving my mercy, giving my association. So like that we have to present ourselves in a proper way that Krishna, he may be pleased to accept. So free from lethargy, that's one instruction there that Arjuna, he gets, how he should execute his fighting. So that we may also take in that way, that in order to work for Krishna and to think of Krishna and to offer our work to Krishna, it should be at least free from this flaw of lethargy. This we should be fit. Is this there? And if it's there, we have to kick it out. But let's say we're not able to do this, we're not able to understand these points. And still we have our work because we have to pay our rent. We have to go to the factory or whatever, and we may be full of lethargy. Still, we will get some paycheck. Even in Denmark, they're quite laid back. So they're not checking. They're not. Even if some worker is a little bit lazy, still, it's not commonplace that he gets fired. Still, they don't fire people easily. So that means in Denmark, you may a little bit half lazily perform your duty and still get a paycheck. You may get away with that. So let's say we have some lethargy and still we get a paycheck. Still, with that money, you can give to the temple. You can give some fruits. Even though you're not able to work in a proper consciousness, you're able to offer that work to Krishna. Still, you may get some money. You may keep your job, you may get some money. So that money you can engage to somebody who can engage it properly, somebody who can make an offering of it to Krishna. So that means giving fruits, to giving the results of your fruits, to give that paycheck, to engage that money in Krishna service. So that I would say is basically the difference, what I would offer as the difference between these two platforms. Maybe somebody else.
No, I just wanted to ask that about stepping down and stepping up and stepping out and stepping in, like that point. That because I always thought that the sannyasis, that they are the highest order of the society, and then vanaprastha and like your brahmachari, and then from the brahmachari one should qualify oneself, isn't it? to the Grihastha ashram, because as far as I can see, like to deal with the material energy. So if you are responsible, Grihastha, and like you're saying, like Arjuna fighting for Krishna and establishing Yudhishthira on the throne, and like that seems like at least on the equal level like anybody else in the society, or but they also had the spiritual master of course, that they followed, but this I just meant that to it's not, it has been often presented in our society that to take up the Grihastha ashram is like a stepping down, like you are presenting now, but in my understanding it is that it's just different services in order, if you are ordered by your spiritual master, like Priya Radha Maharaj, he was ordered by Lord Brahma to get married and get that service, and just like Arjuna is ordered by Krishna, so there are these different kind of...
So of course we don't, it's forbidden actually to look down upon any other devotee, depending on whatever platform that he may be pleased to operate on or able to accept. No, we don't want to compare ourselves to others, because there's this saying that if we become envious towards those who are superior, or if we kick or neglect those who are junior, like in a lower position, then that's not good for us, and that's not a favorable thing. So we want to kick out the envy of the devotees according to the platform they are on. So that's not, the point is that it's a scientific process, and yes, you require more material expertise to operate on the Grihastha ashram, because there's more responsibility, and that some of them may materially inept, they're not able to materially maintain it, but they may have a quite simplicity to their nature that they can just follow their authority, and like that they may be able to maintain a brahmacharya ashram. So in that way, Grihastha may be more qualified, and you may have a case where a Grihastha, he may be more Krishna conscious than a brahmachari, because he's really offering everything to Krishna, while the brahmachari, he may not actually be properly situated. So we can really have to see where we are and consider our situation foremost, and not compare ourselves always to others. Now this is not wanted. That's not helpful. It's not helpful to any of us. So better to make best use of our own situation, our own opportunity to advance, and not consider so much whether we're higher or lower in comparison to others. It's not helpful. So I will end off with your comment there. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavatam ki jai.